committee, what, 8 years now?
Yeah,
Maybe, and this is the first time that a finance committee meeting has ever started with all of its members present on time.
I'm sure.
I'm positive.
Yeah, no, and you've continually been told that our clock is fast. Yeah. But I don't know about the House, but no committee room clocks in the Senate have the same time.
Okay, we're raising the bar.
Okay, we are live, so we can start talking about coordinating the clocks in this building.
Excellent.
Committee, we are having scheduling problems that we're working on at the leadership level. We were supposed to meet with, we're supposed to have Julia Richter today go over the state of the ed fund, the financial state, because we borrowed $70 million last year to buy down the tax rate. Wanted to see where we were this year, but she's booked. Which means she's booked, I think, in a House committee. We were going to meet the next, the start is 3, but then Senate Education said they couldn't meet on Friday because they were meeting with House Education. But House Education also had, we were going to go through, the governor said, I don't know if all of that over just chairs or leadership, but a section of topics that is kind of background for the proposal he's going to be making in the budget on property tax and school structure. And we were trying to do that with education. But the commissioner was booked in the afternoon by the House. So I've got leadership level trying to have our annual discussion with House committees that they can have prime people in the morning, because we can't meet in the morning and we meet in the afternoon, and we need Julia. So for the next 3 days, we are meeting with Senate Education, and on Friday, the last I heard, we were meeting with Senate and House Education to get that governor's people's primer, so that we're all starting with the same base information. Is that right? Are we meeting? Yeah. So
The next 2 days, we have joint meetings, and then on Friday, we have an appointee to listen
That's-
to.
right.
And we also have Emily Brown will be here.
Okay, Friday was the one day that Senate Education, I got an email from Senator Bongartz this weekend saying, no, Senate was going to do their own thing on Friday. So we're going to do the one appointment we got. That's a commissioner, so we do a committee interview and a vote. If below the commissioner secretary level, you will all get appointments to, you name the board. If it's under the jurisdiction of this committee, we will get the appointment to approve. And you'll all be asked to call that. I try and do it by your district, but we don't have anyone here from Bennington, so I'll just choose someone. But basically, once we get the contact information, which this board habitually does not send, whoever it's assigned to can just call them, ask them for some background. Do they want to continue it? When I asked my first year, what do I ask them? They told me, oh, ask them if they did anything to embarrass the governor. We're trying to do something a little more. But that's how that's going. So we will have Karen Johnson if we can get him in on Friday. And then we're going to take a little break, and I'm trying to get DFR in and others. Turns out the insurance people are all also booked on Friday afternoon. So that must be House human services, maybe,
Healthcare.
or healthcare. All right. Just to get a state, because we have jurisdiction over health insurance, just to get us up to date on what the market looks like, what issues we're looking at there. The increase in the cost of health insurance has been a driver in the increase in the property tax. So they're all meshed. If we could do something, and they're all equally easy to do something about. I think I told you, or tell me if I didn't. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we did a bill that separated the individual and the small group insurance pools. And this, okay. We talk about insurance pools. There's large group. Most of the large group insurance in this state is the self-insured businesses. So all your larger businesses, I'm on the VSAC board, we're self-insured. State employees are self-insured. You're big enough so you're your own pool. You're a large group. If you are self-insured, you are outside state regulation per federal law. So anything we do doesn't touch them. That's an employee-employer negotiated agreement. It doesn't. We have jurisdiction over the public market. And essentially that means you are now going to the exchange and buying your insurance from that. Small employers or small group, the Chamber of Commerce greatly expanded its membership when it did a group association. That got outlawed by Obamacare, then it got put back in. It was costing them a lot of money. We were looking at allowing them, it was allowed. We were looking at allowing them to do that. And the feds changed the rules and said, no, associations aren't allowed again. Let us off the hook. So we have until recently, merged the individual group. That's usually people that have money. They're not poor enough to be on Medicaid, but they have a significant disability and may not be working or working regularly. They are buying it for themselves, but they frequently have high medical costs. It's a very small and thus a very expensive pool. And then there's the small group, which are mostly your small employers. The federal government on the exchange, Randy, 3-4 years ago, put in significant additional subsidies to the individual market, which allowed them to be affordable. We separated those two markets, which allowed the small group, your small employers, which is the bulk of Vermont, to save a lot of money because they're a healthier group than the individuals. We did that for 1 year, because it was a 1-year federal thing. The feds extended it for 2 years, I think, so we extended it for 2 years. DEVA came to me last week and said they would like to make that permanent. There is a bill to do that. It's starting in the House, but they're fast tracking it. Just so everyone knows the rules, because our extension is going to run out probably July 1st. And so people need to know what's going on. So that will be coming here. Yes.
Could you repeat that one? Sure. Could you repeat that one more time? DEVA would like us lots.
We've only done this they have been separated markets for 2 years. And then I guess if we do nothing, they go back to being a merged market. They would like us, and they can come in and give the rationale. What they've said to me is it will cost small businesses $25 million to be remerged because they'll pick up all that additional expense. It would be cheaper for us to find a way, because the individual market is so small, to find a way to subsidize that or help them rather than make. So we will listen to them, but that is the one insurance bill I know, unless the House decides not to do it, will be coming this way and will be kind of fast tracked.
Feels like deja vu all over again.
Yeah, the last time I think it did, but we do health insurance, so the Secretary of the Senate makes that call. Last
No,
time.
I know, but it's just every time,
Oh,
every
yeah.
year we have the same conversation.
So,
But the federal subsidies are also running out. And
Yes.
that's gonna be a big problem on the individual market.
yes,
And
it is.
If we have to pay to back up the
Right.
federal subsidies, that will be a pretty
We
penny as
will.
well.
Be looking at all of that.
And of course, we should also be looking at what the intentions of the incoming administration are and whether or not there's been any talk about what they plan to do.
Yeah, I know. And that might be an area, I mean, all of that is up in the air. Last time this administration was in, attempts to do away with the exchange were not kindly met by the people, or a lot of people that are covered. I would think Medicaid, just from what's been said, might be a more vulnerable market than this one, but we definitely are going to be looking to our folks in Washington to let us know what's happening. These are not, it ain't over till we've made the final decision, and that assumes it's going to come out of the House even, and I'm sure they'll be looking at it. That one's coming. We do have issues in our health insurance market. I'm going to try and get MVP, and they have some real issues with the editing claims that we made last year. And that was another one, all the editing and prior approval, which is part of the insurance cost, did not come to this committee, and we could not get it officially sent to this committee. The editing is having major impacts and could have some negative consequences for us. So we're going to hear from them as soon as I can get them. I don't think it's any secret that Blue Cross is having some financial struggles. And that is all related to the two big drivers, pharmaceutical and hospital costs. And our hospital costs are high. And if anyone isn't, there is a certain amount of tension between the Green Mountain Care Board and UVMC. A fair amount of it is playing out with canceled things in my district, and it's very tense here right now. I haven't heard of proposals other places, but there's several coming out of Central Vermont Medical Center that is part of UVMC that are impacting people and are not being well received. So we have something other than property tax. Those are two, probably the biggest and most complex issues here. And that is about it.
Sorry, I'm new to finance, so I'm gonna
That's
ask a lot of questions. Will any reference-based pricing bills come here? Do you think?
They should.
Okay.
I'm anticipating we'll get those, and they definitely are on my list of things
Mhm.
that are being talked about. I'm also trying to get, the NEA has a proposal for going to income tax. I'm trying to get them to come in as that is a funding source. What was the other? Oh, we got some of it last week at the joint meeting on a foundation formula. What is it? We can go into more detail if someone wants. What is Brigham and what were the decisions of Brigham? John Gray did some of that. We can redo it or go into more depth if anyone wants to do that. Those are the two big ones that I know of out there, but anyone that wants anything, I do agenda planning on Thursdays at noon. Anyone's welcome to show up, but if you want something on the agenda, just let me know and we will get it on.
I mean, we talked about this earlier, but health insurance as it relates to teachers and staff and any education related, entity is a really big one.
It's a cost driver.
Yeah.
So we definitely, they're all meshing. If we could get that down below 15% a year, it would be helpful because it's part of the personnel cost. We will go over the ed fund and what all those lines mean and how much money is actually in them. As soon as I can get Julian. And this week we're going to be pretty much located. Some of us are going to the chair and vice chair training all afternoon. So we are not really meeting today, but I wanted to know, if you've got any priorities, bills that you want to see us take up. And I'm just going to go around the table. Anything, Randy?
I have just some concerns about bills. We can talk about the specific bills. We obviously know it, education, housing, and so on and so forth are the high priorities. But I have some sort of sub priorities or overarching priorities. And I mentioned it in economic development this morning, and I think they're relevant to what we do too. And that is, in what we do, there ought to be some form of accountability as part of that bill. Accountability to know that if we do something because of some specific outcome that we're hoping to see as an end result of what we do, that we have effective measurement tools built into the bill that will allow us to look back and not look back 5 or 6 or 10 years later, as we've done in some recent bills, tell us whether or not what we did is working as intended and achieving the intended result. We have a very bad history of looking back on what we've done to test whether or not it made sense and whether or not it's working. So that's one thing. The second thing that's a high priority for me in this session is clarity. So that when we walk out of here and something is passed, we actually understand what we passed, and that the people who are reading the bill to implement it understand what it is. We often have stuff that is so stuffed with jargon and confusion and bureaucracy that it is very difficult to understand what it is that we have done. And that to me is particularly important. The third thing that I'm looking for in everything that we do this year is probably less important in this committee than it is in something like economic development. And that is speed and timeliness. So that what we do doesn't take 10 years to get implemented to know whether or not it's been done. And then at that point, we can only at that point tell whether or not it is in fact doing what we intended it to do, which is too late. Those are the three things that I want to test every bill we do against.
I've always tried to test tax bills, having been through a period on this committee where, starting with the tax consultants, we had a large number of groups that thought they were abiding by the law and found out they hadn't been. And they were in this committee because they were being told they owe $300,000 in back taxes. The legendary one is bark mulch. If you put it on your tomatoes and you're a farmer, it wasn't taxable. If you put it on your rose bushes, it was. That left the home and garden people on the hook for that. We did kill a bill in here with veterinary medicine. If you used it on farm animals, it wasn't taxable. If you used it on your pet, it was. My question, and the one I know the person for the tax department has told me got their attention was, what about my border collie? It herds my sheep all day. It's a working farm animal. It sleeps on the foot of my bed at night. Is it a pet or is it a farm animal? And as a matter of principle, anything that is taxed according to its use really puts, and probably because I have a retail business or have had, it's fairly dead since my shop closed, but you are a volunteer in the community that is required to collect, to put aside, and to pay a tax that is owed by the purchaser. The merchant that collects that tax doesn't owe it, but the state requires them to be a free tax agent for the state. So I think we need to make sure, especially when we're doing things like sales tax, which is where things get murky. I believe Senator Mazza asked us about ice cubes. If you put them in your drink, is it food? If you put it in an ice chest, it's something else. And we were told it is taxable. But we got into trouble with potato chips. If you buy them in the grocery store, they're not taxable. If you buy them with your lunch, they are taxable. But if you buy them to take them out and take home at the same time, are they? So when we do taxes, I'm going to ask us to make sure it is very clear so that the average person, and now I used to get a booklet and it would tell me the recent tax changes. Now you have to remember that you should go online and look up, and most small merchants in Vermont just don't do that. I'm struggling to remember. I have to pay my sales tax on the 26th of January, which I cannot figure out the logic of the 26th of January, but that's when your sales tax is due. And so, yeah, I try and keep anything we do with taxes to be clear. In general, the tax department has been very good about that. And their computer program is the glory of state government. It's the one we did right because it does work. I hope we can replicate that in the Department of Labor, because I don't think any of us want to go through COVID again with all the calls on unemployment insurance and the time for turnaround when people have no wages coming in. So anyway, that's anybody have anything you want to do in here other than fix healthcare and
Education, finance.
Those are two tiny things. Certainly we can call them something else.
I don't know how we're gonna have time. I've asked Penny Charlotte to see if she can get a hold of Robin Lunge, and if Robin would be willing to come in and just share healthcare situation and healthcare reform with the committee. Robin started in the Joint Fiscal Office crunching numbers when we were trying to get the cost of pharmaceuticals down. She's been through every effort, except maybe the one that happened even before I got here in the House, to reform our healthcare system. And so I thought before she leaves, if we could get her to come and just give us a
101.
101, 10,000.
Never done a healthcare. Yeah.
Well, we'll get you. Okay, so that's good to know. We will get
Get the 101.
we'll do health. Well, I want Ginny to do it. I've been off there for 2 years, and there are so many just letters and names, and I have trouble figuring out how they all match or if they even match. But as we go through the health insurance thing, we're going to deal with that too. So, okay, we'll see if we can get a copy. Other people, Jen would be the best person to get us to go. I hate to take Jen's.
Just also come through that.
That's right.
Next time. and the, just in general.
And she can Zoom, so she wouldn't have to come up.
Yeah, so Robin and Jess together are excellent in terms
They've
of.
done this,
Oh, yeah, I mean, basically,
okay.
during, when I first was on the health and welfare committee, they did like healthcare 101 stuff. And it was,
And if you've got contact with Jessica,
yeah, she should be in your system, but I have her contact if you need it,
then
Charlotte.
we can do that.
The joint meetings that we're having this week, are we gonna be,
No, we're in the pavilion.
We are, okay.
We did,
Or room 11 and then.
Do we know the agenda for those joint meetings? Like who's gonna be there and what?
it is the governor's, we're going through the governor's thing and
That letter that Jason Malucci sent out.
Is that what it is?
I think it's Secretary Saunders,
Yeah.
Folio, Jill, Briggs.
Campbell.
Yeah.
it's all been set up to walk us through. This is part of the pro tem invited the governor to come in and share his proposals with us, because in past years, we've gotten proposals the end of April, the 1st of May, when we're wrapping things up. And so we have, to the governor's credit, he is going to be bringing us a comprehensive program. The details in many instances are still being worked out, and that's where the devil frequently lurks. But we will be starting looking at that program, like of any other comprehensive program that's been submitted. We will look at that. We will look at other proposals. We'll work through it along with education, because we do the numbers, but they do the delivery system. And I think we're going to have to look at both to really have anything meaningful happen. So we're going to see if we can keep working across purposes there.
Okay, yeah, that would be great to understand the sort of communication plan between the two committees and the sort of collaboration plan.
We're sitting and meeting, well, we're starting out meeting jointly. We will do that as often as necessary. I'm planning on meeting with Senator Baumgart on probably a weekly basis, maybe. So the chairs meets on Wednesdays, and it'll probably be Tuesdays, either before or probably just after, whenever they settle on the caucus time, and keep in touch with him. But we will be meeting weekly at least.
So on other topics, I know that there is at least one tax bill coming our way, and I'm working on a tax bill that I'm happy to talk to you about.
Got a couple tax
Yeah,
bills.
so just sort of general, not
Yeah.
education, property taxes, but regular taxes, whatever that means. But maybe you and I can chat about that.
Okay, but no, any bill that comes here, except for bills that we decide we aren't doing, or that get included in other bills. I try and clear that board before we go home. We're usually successful. But sometimes we'll take 3 and 4, we'll get 3 and 4 on the same topic. Miscellaneous tax is my favorite Christmas tree. I get to decorate it. Because a lot of those smaller bills, if they're small bills, may end up getting, believe it or not, we used to do the yield on the miscellaneous tax bill.
It's bill's a small bill.
It was. I mean,
Exceptions.
got stuck on miscellaneous tax. This year it was a big bill. Okay, some of us have got to get across.
Who's going over there?
Yeah, we're going over there and learn how to be chairs. So forget everything I just said, because I don't know how to be a chair yet. But, yeah,
Can we come back with all this insight?
I was gonna come back to this. It's like,